Morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Country Boy Catfishing. Uh, we had a major rainstorm come through last night. Wind dumped a lot of rain, and barometric pressure was falling this morning. So we decided we'd come give it a try. A little bit cool this morning. We got a lot of wind. I'm having to record from inside the vehicle to try and get out of the wind. Dumped a lot of rain. So this is one of the very few spots I can get to on this lake uh, because there's a lot of red clay around here, not a lot of gravel roads. And I tried to go to one of my other spots, and it's just too muddy. About got stuck going right in. Hey, 351 Cleveland. About got stuck. There were some other guys out here fishing already, catching some crappie, and they had already got stuck and had to get pulled out. That's the only bad thing about this lake is after a rain, uh, it's all red clay. It gets really, really slick. Even in four-wheel drive, I was sliding around and decided to stick it in reverse and come back out. Today, I'm actually fishing the creek side of this place called Walker Creek on Waurika Lake. The creek channel comes back through here, goes all the way back to the back. There's lots of stumps in the back of it. Got a lot of brush, willow trees and stuff in the water here. Uh, I don't know that will do any good here. Hey, Lynn, but this is one of the few places I can get to on the lake right now till it dries up. It dumped quite a bit of rain last night. You throw a little bit of rain on this red clay, it's like ice skating. It is slick. Been struggling getting bait for about the last week. Normally, I can go out in 30 minutes to an hour and get all the bait I need to fish with for the day. But this last week, the shad have kind of moved out and haven't been coming in. I even went out about 11:30 last night and tried for an hour to see if maybe they were moving in late in the evening, and they still weren't moving in there. Hey, hooks and hammock, but had a couple of shad left and a bluegill left, so I decided to come out and try it. It's supposed to be cloudy and overcast all day. We've had storm systems for about the last 3 days. Uh, it's really cloudy and overcast. Every once in a while, you'll see the sun poke through. Earlier, there were some guys starting to catch some crappie jigging along this bridge beside me, catching them up in the rocks. Uh, Bite was slow for them, but the ones they were catching were nice ones. Also, some hybrid. We have seen a few fish hit the top of the water out here, but I'm not sure if they're carp or hybrid or exactly what they are. The back of this creek channel here, this little cove in this creek channel, there's a bunch of white birds, and usually if you can find the birds, it's a good sign. They're quite a ways from me, but maybe we can get some of that bait fish and shad to move up, move in. Supposed to warm up, I think today. Supposed to get up around 70. It's probably about 50 right now, but got a strong wind blowing, and it's pretty cool. I'm actually down in a little low spot using this bridge to try and block some of the wind. I've got the camera tucked way back up in the vehicle because the wind noise is just so bad. But at least I'm out fishing. Hey, Catfish Cameron, thanks for stopping by. I know Two Stands was out fishing, and I know that there went a carp right there. I could tell what that was. Should have brought some worms, caught some of them, tried to catch some of them carp for bait. I've never used them for bait, but I'm wanting to give it a try. I've seen Haz and Chunky and Fishing Magician 2.0 and them use it. And I'm not against trying new things, guys. But I knew Fishing Magician was out fishing with his family. Two Stands was live fishing. I don't know if they've done any good or not. Hey, James Dockery. Yeah, I hope so too, but my options are kind of limited. We had a big rainstorm come through, and all red clay, and most of the spots that I like to fish, I can't get into right now. I tried and almost got stuck. It's just too muddy. Even in four-wheel drive, I was going left and the vehicle was still going right. Some other guys were out this morning, and they got both of their trucks stuck already. Well, good, Catfish Cameron. I'm glad you can't tell. I've got the camera back up inside the vehicle. I'm recording out through the window because it is definitely windy here. I've got cut shad for bait right now is what I'm using, and kind of hoping at least something bites. The only other places I can get to right now with all the mud would be around the campsites. That's the only paved roads out here is right where the campgrounds are. And there's no way I could record there because you can't get your vehicle close. And it's so windy, you got to keep the camera up inside the vehicle. Definitely starting to see some blue sky out underneath the clouds. So we may get lucky and a little bit of this stuff dry up. That sun pops out and hits some of this and starts drying it up. I may go try my luck at some other places, but as of right now, this is the only place I can get to. I wish they'd start putting more gravel on these roads because this red clay around here, I don't know if y'all are familiar with red clay, but it only takes a little bit of moisture and that red clay gets like ice skating. But this is a spot the crappie pull up in to spawn, and a lot of the times you'll catch the catfish up in here too, especially with this creek channel coming through. And usually late spring, early summer, this spot's really good, but it's a little bit early right now. But I didn't have a whole lot of choice in the matter. So I figure we're going to give it a little bit, try it a little bit, and see what happens. I know the crappie they were catching this morning. They were definitely nice crappie. Nothing small. Every one of them they caught was big. The bite was slow, but they were at least catching them. I don't normally fish a lot for crappie. I'm trying to get better at it and learn. Uh, I have no problem with live bait, but I struggle catching them on the jig. And when they move up in here good, and I know they're in here thick, I'll try and catch me some crappie because I like to eat them crappie. James Dockery, did you see that video Lyle put out on that jig? I know he just posted it yesterday, but that's one thing I'll say, guys. If you ever do anything on a live feed on YouTube, uh, you will never live it down because these guys, uh, they'll save that and share it and remind you of it constantly. Hey, Maurice Cason. Hope you're doing well. Circle Hook Productions, thanks for stopping by. Have something from him soon, yeah. I will give Lyle this. I've been watching his jig time videos, and he is definitely good with those jigs. To me, I think that just adds a whole nother aspect to the fishing. Is if you sit there and you can tie the jig and then take something you made and go out there and catch fish on it and have the confidence in it, that's pretty neat. That wind is so bad. I don't know if y'all can see it blowing them rods around, and it's got bows in the line, but we're fishing and we're going to give it a shot anyway. Kind of hoping that as the morning progresses, that sun will try and heat up and maybe kill some of this wind. But there's definitely some crappie moving in, some hybrid striped bass, and carp. I haven't seen any gar up here cruising yet, but if them carp are cruising this shallow water, I figure it won't be long and them catfish will be up in here. I'm not far from the spot where I brought my wife out about a week ago and caught 4 within the 20 to 40 pound range. And we also caught some nice eaters, but for some reason, them big ones were moved up in there and they were biting good. But so far this year, where all the brush is and all the willow trees that have come up in the water when the lake was low, and now that it's filled back up, them root systems are in the water, and most of my luck has come fishing up next to that brush and that cover. Most of the spots I'm fishing, most people won't fish because they're worried about getting snagged up, and you will get snagged up and you will lose some tackle, but the fish have been in there. But that's what it takes to get them. I'll sacrifice some hooks and lead. Kind of hoping this weather breaks. I'm really in anticipation. Uh, we've had a lot of warm weather. Uh, Now this rain and stuff come through and kind of cooled it off a little bit. But if it gets warm again, it won't be long before them flatheads start moving around. I got a spot. They want another fish. My wife can normally go catch me some live bluegill, and I'll bring them out here and fish for some flathead. The big blues will hit the bluegill also, but usually when I'm fishing with bluegill, I'm targeting flathead, not the blues. It's fishing, and sometimes the fish don't always cooperate. All I saw yesterday while fishing my spot was a big gar. Seen the alligator gar starting to feed again, circle hooks. I haven't seen a lot of gar here this year. I have been seeing a lot of carp. They're jumping, hitting the top of the water. I wasn't even really sure I was going to find a spot where I could get to the water today, but I wished I would have brought some night crawlers. I'd throw one of them out there and try and catch one of them carp for bait. That sun heats up, pops out and starts heating this water up. We may get lucky and may start seeing some shad popping in here. If I see some shad start running in here, I'd really like to get that cast net out and get me some shad. Spot where I normally catch my shad, they've been non-existent for about the last week since last Friday. I don't know what pushed them out or why they moved out, but they definitely moved out. I tried different times of day, early morning, during the day, and late night. I went out at 11:30 last night and tried to catch some bait because I knew I wanted to try and come and fish, and they just were not in there. I have noticed the spot I usually catch my shad at. There's a lot of bluegill that have moved in, and they're just cruising the top of the water. Most of the bluegill aren't 4 to 6 inches under the surface. Hey James, no luck yet. Uh, we're gonna give it a shot though. Hey Fox Den, thanks for coming in. I was telling everybody earlier, we had a big rainstorm come through, rain and wind last night, and most of the places that I like to fish, I can't get to right now because the roads around this lake are all red clay, and they're really muddy and really slick right now. So I need some sunshine to come out and kind of dry them up a little bit to where I can navigate. Two guys had already got stuck this morning, and I tried going down in there, and I put it in 4-wheel drive, and I was still slipping and sliding. So before I got too deep in there, I throwed it in reverse and backed her back out. Hey Frank, thanks for stopping in. Yeah, James, we had a shad kill, but even right after the shad kill, they were still up in there, and normally they're so thick there. It's a spot everyone likes to crappie fish, and normally the shad are so thick in there, uh, you struggle getting your jig through the shad to get down to the crappie. but here lately they've just disappeared. James, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm in southern Oklahoma. I'm probably about 45 minutes north of the Texas state line and Red River. I'm at Waurika Lake Reservoir. It's run by the Corps of Engineers. It's a really great fishery, many different species of fish. Uh, it's fed by two creeks. Little Beaver and Big Beaver Creek are what feed it. And they built it as a flood control lake to keep the town of Waurika from flooding away. Yeah, they definitely got thinned out some, James, because I went out there and the lake was completely froze over, except right inside this boathouse where I've been catching my shad. And even with the ice on, I was still able to catch some shad. Just this last week, they just kind of disappeared. There went another carp or something out there that jumped. Carp are definitely cruising around. You'll see some of them up close to the bank, some of them farther out. That wind is ripping. This little cove we're in, surrounded by trees. We're down in a low spot and got a rock and concrete bridge here beside me. I'm trying to use for a little bit of a wind block. If it wasn't for that, we'd get blowed plumb off the water. Looks like the wind is trying to switch directions on us. Looks like it's trying to come due west instead of the southwest like earlier. But I knew when I left, the barometric pressure was at 29.8, but it was starting to fall. So the fish should be active. Yeah, grew up in West Texas, know about that red clay. Yeah, it's a mess. I don't know why they don't put more gravel on the roads around here, uh, especially as many people that fish this lake. Uh, but it does not take a whole lot of moisture to make that red clay slick. And I'm not like a lot of guys. If I go in there and my vehicle starts sliding around and stuff in 4-wheel drive, I'll throw it in reverse and back out. I don't go in there digging big old ruts and just tearing the roads up. Because even after it dries up, it makes it harder for other people to get down in there. And I'm not trying to do that. Hey, Donald Weir, welcome. Another spot I really like to fish, it's right off the main lake. Uh, kind of makes a cove up in there. I've had good success up in the brush there, but like I say, after that rain, I don't even think I could get down in there. The only reason I got in here is this is one of the few spots there is gravel, and it's got rock in it. And well, they want another cart. At least I could get down to this spot. carp are definitely up in here thick. They're jumping out of the water. And like I say, we're just on the verge of that spring pattern. The crappie are just now starting to move up and pull up into the shallows. That carp is having a blast out there. I don't know what exactly he's doing, but he keeps just flying up out of that water. But it won't be long, especially if we get some warm weather. Them crappie will definitely start pulling up more and more. And when them crappie pull up and start spawning, your catfish will start pulling up onto their flats and stuff, and their spawning places. And that's a hard time of the year because I love to catch my catfish, but I like to catch crappie to eat too. So sometimes I may have to take a day off and just crappie fish. You think as active as them carp are and moving around that the catfish should be up in here wanting to feed also. But after that shad kill, they may be so full of shad that they're not even looking for shad anymore. Yeah, James, I've never been much of a carp fisherman, but this lake has some huge ones in it. You catch them anywhere from 30 to 50 pounds. Most of the time I catch them, it's by accident out here catfishing. But the way they're jumping and splashing around in here, and shad being so hard to come by right now, I wouldn't mind catching me a carp, using it for cut bait. Hey, CVA. Appreciate you stopping in, Central Valley. It really wouldn't be that bad out here if that wind wasn't blowing so bad. Yeah, Catfish Cameron, this lake is creek fed, and the carp and the alligator gar in this place get huge. It stays kind of muddy, murky water, and all the fish seem to thrive in here. There's a huge shad population, but your carp, your channel cat, your flathead, your blue cat, your crappie, sand bass, hybrid bass, striped bass, walleye, saugeye, bluegill, all the fish seem to do really well in this lake. Most of the time when you catch them carp here, you think you got a monster catfish on there, and you'll fight him and fight him and fight him, and usually it's not till you get him about 5 foot from the bank that you can tell it's a carp. Get you really excited, get your adrenaline going, and then you see that carp and it's just like a crash. I got some medium action rods, James, and I definitely got some good, strong Mustat J hooks, but It's still early in the year a little bit for this spot, but it won't be long and it'll start turning on. I don't know if it's because this crappie pull up in here to spawn or what exactly is going on, but usually when they pull up in here to spawn, you'll start seeing more and more and more fish pack in here. I don't know if they're eating the crappie or eating the eggs, but late spring and early summer, this spot usually does really well. I'm just a little bit early right now, but I'm going to give it a little bit longer here. And if I don't do anything here, I'm going to move and try and find another spot that I can get to without getting stuck. James, most places in Oklahoma, you can have 4 rods. They're pretty lenient, usually 4 rods per person. Which if the fish are biting, 4 rods is more than you can keep up with. But I've got 3 rods out here. Because I don't want to waste a whole lot of my shad because it's very limited. And I may walk over here in some of the shallower water and just throw my cast at to see if there's anything around. But I haven't seen anything moving on the water except the carp. You're going to go out and give it a shot, Central Valley? Well, I hope you have good luck. This is one of those days where I might do a lot of driving, just trying to find a spot I can get to and fight through the mud. I can fish the campsites, and the campgrounds do hold fish in them. You can catch good fish over there, but uh, you got to have a tripod to record. And I cannot have the camera outside the vehicle right now because the wind's so bad. Uh, you wouldn't get any kind of audio on it, just be a bunch of noise. See some of these white birds moving around, but I haven't seen them dive down and start hitting the water. Look like they're doing the same thing I am. They're looking for that shad. This water back in here, it's all real shallow, guys. Just a big shallow flat. Drops off, and there's a creek channel that runs through it. You can get in the deeper water in the creek channel, but most of this is just a big shallow flat. When they're spawning and they're feeding heavy, these shallow flats with this hard bottom, they'll come up in here in numbers, and you can really usually have a pretty good day. One thing I like about this lake is you just never know. When that rod bends, you don't know if it's a 5 pound or a 70 pound. Uh, this lake has a lot of big fish in it. I'm trying to get CPR introduced and practice more here to where people will quit taking the big fish out of the water, let them reproduce. That way it's here for future generations, and our kids' kids can come out here and catch them. Yeah, James, I'm familiar with McAllister Lake. Uh, had an uncle that lived on it, and it used to be a phenomenal crappie fishery, and it had catfish also. But that's kind of what happened with the Duncan Lakes, the city lakes over there. There's four of them. Uh, they had a guy take over control of the lakes, and he just didn't put no time or effort into them. They quit stocking them, and they basically got fished out. And they finally went ahead and it approved through the city council and stuff that they're going to start stocking the lakes again. And there's four of them, and they allotted $100,000 to stock them, and they're going to spend 25,000 on each lake to restock them here pretty soon. Once someone drags a lake down like that, uh, even though you're stocking it, they're not going to use fingerlings. They're going to get adult fish to stock. Uh, even when you start stocking it, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to get that lake back up. Uh, we had a bump on that rod. I don't know what it was. Just kind of bumped it. It may have been one of them carp swimming into the line, but when they drag them lakes down like that, it takes a while for that lake to recover, and especially if they're heavily fished. Stocking the lakes and taking care of it, that's a constant thing. Uh, you need to do that on a yearly basis. You can't just do it once and wait 15 years to do it again. There are a lot of fishermen out there. You can't just rely on the fish spawning into the lake to keep your populations up. They can only do so much, and only so many of the eggs survive the spawn. Uh, so take that money and invest it back into them lakes. No, James, I'm not near McAllister Lake. The four lakes that they're going to start stocking are the Duncan City Lakes. It'll be Duncan Lake, Clear Creek Lake, Lake Humphreys, and Fuquay Lake. And it's really sad what happened to them lakes. Fuquay Lake used to be a championship bass lake. Uh, they had bass tournaments there. People come from all over the country to fish it, and they just quit taking care of it, and the lake basically died. And now they finally got someone in there that's trying to make a difference and bring them back to life. Uh, they put a lot of work in on their lakes, building new bathrooms and showers, and uh, so I'm really excited that they're actually putting forth the effort to try and bring those lakes back to life. That's one of the reasons I don't fish them lakes. I can be at their lakes in 10 to 15 minutes from my house, but there's just not any numbers of fish and not big quality fish. So I don't waste my time fishing them. Uh, every once in a while, I'll go out there just because the wife wants to go and spur of the moment, go somewhere quick. But McAllister used to be a great lake. and especially right there by the dam. You could park up there by the dam and jig them big crappie out of there. And kind of hoping they'd bite at least something with that pressure falling like that. You think it'd turn them on, but it may be still too early for this spot. But if them carp are up in here and you got crappie and hybrid on the rock, you know there ought to be a catfish swimming through here, at least one. Be nice for that sun to come out. They say it's going to be partly cloudy today, but it's supposed to get up to 71. I'm ready for some 70s because right now it is chilly. Usually 50 and 60 degrees is not bad weather once you get up into the 50s, but when you got a lot of wind pushing that and coming across that water, it cools it off even more. I'm probably going to give it about another 15 minutes here, and nothing happens. I'm going to go find me another spot. I'll try and find another spot I can get to and still go live. Has two stands or Fishing Magician had any luck? Does anybody know? I know they were live earlier. I know Mark 2.0, he was fishing with his family, had his wife out. I know the Super Chat Give Back tournament they had yesterday was a big success in my book. I know Chris Flores, he had bad wind he was struggling with. Uh, Steve Douglas had a rough time. He finally did catch one. Uh, but Haz and Chunky were just having a blast. I loved watching them guys yesterday. Uh, Palmetto had Jimmy with fishing and gear with him, and they caught a few fish, and but it was just really fun to watch. Uh, Chunky won 3 out of the 4 trophies. He got smallest fish, most super chats, and what was the other one? I know Palmetto got the most fish, but Chunky Cats took 3 of the 4. Oh, Chunky had a big fish also. The big fish, most super chats, and smallest fish. But him and Has just had a great time the whole time they were on there. I can't believe Chunky ate that worm, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Hey, Randall, how are you doing? It was it was funny because they popped into Palmetto's chat and I told him that Chunky was fixing to eat a worm. He's like, no way. And Chunky ate it, and Palmetto was like, oh. It was a lot of fun watching Has and Chunky. Washed it down with the Mountain Dew. Didn't bother him though. He come on Triple City Anglers last night with TBA, Has, and Mark, and Palmetto even popped in, and he said it didn't bother his stomach or nothing. Has said he was wore out. He went home and took a nap. Uh, Chunky said when he got home, his wife had a bunch of honeydews for him to do, so he still hadn't got to slow down yet. I bet he slept good last night. If anyone doesn't know who Chunky Cats is, you need to go check out Chunky Cats Fishing. Uh, Elstan is a blast. Uh, I never call him by his real name, Elstan, because uh, to me, he's just Chunky. Uh, he is a great source of entertainment. He is a blast to watch. It's loads of fun. See some ducks starting to go by. I like seeing that. I hope they do a lot more. That duck just caught a big old shad or a big old fish. I just watched him come back up with it, trying to choke it down. Uh, I like seeing those guys fish together like that. It's a lot of fun. They have a great time, and we have a great time watching them. And I'd like to see more of it. That's the thing with fishing, guys. It's not always about how many fish you catch or how big they are. It's spending that time with each other, and it's just quality time out on the water. You're making memories, and sometimes the companionship and the time spent is worth way more than the fish you catch. Don't get so focused on fishing, uh, putting pressure on yourself to catch fish that you can't enjoy it. Don't take the fun out of it. Randall, I'm on Eureka Lake in southern Oklahoma. I'm about 45 minutes north of the Texas state line in Red River. And this spot that I'm at today on this lake is the actual Walker Creek. Creek channel comes through, heads back up in here, and it gets real narrow. There's a small little creek back there. Uh, so far, this was the only spot I could find to get to because we had that big rainstorm come through last night, and the roads around this lake are all red clay. So it's very muddy and very slick. There was two guys that were out here in their pickups and already got stuck, and I put mine in four-wheel drive, and we're trying to head out to the point, and it was just too slick. I was going one way, and the vehicle was going the other. So before it got real bad, uh, even in full-wheel drive, I throwed it in reverse and back out. Hey, Johnny, J&S, welcome. But down here, this Oklahoma red clay, guys, it don't take a whole lot. Once it gets wet, man, it's like ice skating. It is very, very slick. They're not really biting here right now. I'm going to give it about another 10 minutes, and I'm going to load up and see if I can find another spot to get into without slipping and sliding. It's really windy here. Kind of trying to escape the wind. Johnny, no, I have not even had a bite. I come out here and man, these carp are everywhere. But I was trying to find a spot to get to. Most of it's all mud and real slick. So I imagine I'm going to spend a lot of time today just searching for a place I can actually get into. This spot here is usually really good in late spring and early summer. I know the crappie are starting to move up in here and stuff. They were catching them this morning, but it's not my choice place to fish, but it was the only place I could get to this morning so far. So I figured I'd stop and try it. Hey, Benrich, Big Cats. Been struggling even catching shad. The shad have been hard to come by for the last week. The place that I normally go and get my shad and stuff, they have just moved out. They have not been there. I know this spot here, sometimes when the water warms up, you'll catch shad up in here. I always keep a cast net with me just in case I see any hitting the top of the water. But if I can't catch fish today, it'd at least be nice to catch some shad. I'm down in a hole. I got a bridge blocking it. I'm surrounded by trees, and the wind's still so bad. I've got the camera way back up in the vehicle, trying to record to keep the wind noise off of it. I hope Two Stands and Fishing Magician have had better luck today than I have so far. We haven't even had a channel cat come up and sniff the bait. Nothing. So we're going to give it a couple more minutes, and I'm going to pull out and find another spot. I won't sit in one spot all day long if the fish ain't biting. I'm going to move around and try and get on them. I know some people come out and just want to sit and enjoy being outside, and there's nothing wrong with that. They really don't care if they catch fish or not, but when I come fishing, I like to actually catch fish. So if they're not biting in one spot, I'll keep moving, trying to find them and locate them. Sometimes it works, and there's times you can move and try several different spots, and it doesn't really matter what you do. You just can't make them bite. But I know barometric pressure was dropping, and I figured that might turn them on a little bit, get them to start biting a little. I don't start finding some shad pretty soon, I'm gonna have to take the wife out with her box of worms and have her catch me a bunch of bluegill. Uh, when them fish start moving up in these flats and stuff for spring, start spawning and stuff, you can really catch some nice ones on them live bluegill. She enjoys catching them. She has a blast, and I enjoy using them for bait. So we both win. Uh, the hard part's getting her to leave once she starts catching them because she just has a ball. If I had a boat, I'd head right back up to the edge of that creek channel because back in the very back part of this creek, there's tons of birds and stuff on the water. So kind of makes me uh, think that that's probably where a lot of the shad's at. Well, guys, we've been at this almost an hour, and I was out here probably 30 minutes before I went live, and nothing's happened. So I'm going to end this stream. I'm going to reel in, load up, and try and find another spot I can get to where I can go live. So I appreciate y'all stopping in, and hopefully I can find a spot to go live, and y'all can come back in and join me again. Appreciate everybody, and thanks, guys.